What's up everyone, Thralls Metal here once again. I'm the Crockneck and I have an album review for you. This one also comes courtesy of our friends at Screaming Toilet. Yet again, it's a fun site full of all sorts of reviews on all sorts of pop culture related stuff, movies, shows, toy reviews, there's podcasts, and of course there's us. So definitely check it out, there will be a link below in the description. So today I am reviewing the newest album from Irdorath, with their album The Final Sin. This came out on the 1st of May this year on Artgates Records. Again, another one that took a little while to get to us. Thanks, COVID, for everything you've done. This band formed in Austria in 2005, and this is their 5th release, and these guys play pretty much a style of black metal / black and death metal. It said just straight black metal on Encyclopedia Metalum, or Metallum, however you want to say that. I think they got it wrong because there's definitely a lot more at play here. And the name is actually a reference to some part of the game Gothic 2, which I've never played, so I don't quite understand the reference, but I'm sure someone will. So the opening track, Chains of Virtue, pretty much agreed to a very short intro, which I'm thankful for that, but it's actually fitting because there are definitely chains in it. I don't know about Virtue, but when it goes in the song, you're greeted to a very doom-laden melody with really cool dissonant accents, and right away, something I noticed in terms of the sound of this is the production is really polished. It's really good, but it's not what I was expecting. Pretty much, again, I saw that it was black metal. I was expecting something a little bit more raw, but when you get down the riff structure here, this is definitely more black and death metal. Like, the riffs are decidedly death metal. I would even say there's some really good thrash metal riffs on here, too. This is more than just black metal, but it's very epic. It's also loaded with loads of melodies. Very like dissection-like melodies in terms of kind of bridging that gap between melodic death metal and black metal, but with decidedly more polished production. Drums are very out front, very punchy sounding drums, very full sounding drums. Guitar tone is really thick and chunky for black metal. There's not a lot of that atmospheric tremolo. It's on here, but it's kind of an interesting balance of just chunky riffs to atmospheric tremolo and big, groovy, chuggy breakdowns, I guess. But the main thing on here was hooks. Loads and loads of hooks. When you get to Redeemer of Heretics, this is probably one of the catchiest songs of the entire album. I absolutely love this song. Was not expecting anything like this on there. It has almost kind of like an early Arch Enemy feel, like driven by chuggy, melodic hooks. Lots of repeated riffs in there that have just a solid hook to them. Like it's really infectious. I was super surprised. Again, not so much on the atmosphere, but more on just creating memorable melodies. So the more I listened to this, the more it kind of sounded like more modern death metal or modern thrash. Like take a band like Hideous Divinity or Hour of Penance and then mix in more black metal elements like Belphegor or Necrophobic, because they have quite an attention to melody as well. But also you hear kind of thrashy moments, like kind of 80s thrashy moments. Divine Delusion, the opening is very clean and very pretty. It almost sounds like the beginning of like a power ballad. I don't know if ballad's the right word, but kind of like a more melodic, like, you know, Metallica tune or something like that, like, you know, Welcome Home Sanitarium. Kind of like that, dark but clean. And it has a fiercely 80s feel, except for the vocals. The vocals are always harsh. And it's interesting that the vocals are kind of back in the mix. Sometimes maybe a little too back. Like, there were parts where I really couldn't hear if the singer was going, like it was an instrumental break, because the guitars and the lead melodies were so loud in the mix. Not really a complaint there, but it was kind of interesting. And I mean, the vocals are kind of secondary in here because when you listen to this, it's all about the music. It's all about, you know, creating really cool, catchy moments, but really dialing up brutality. And it's not black metal brutality. It's not like that, you know, fiercely heavy, dark, grim, cold, pick your black metal adjective right there. It's more about like brutality and like chuggy hooks and such. Again, I was expecting just straight up black metal and I got something completely different, but I'm not complaining about what I got because what I got I really liked too. When you get down to a song like The Plague I Am, This might be the thrashiest song on here. We got like some serious machine gun guitars on here, like almost kind of like Slayer or Sodom, but you know, a little bit of that deicide extra aggression on there. It's very thrashy, and the black metal moments are kind of dialed down a little bit on that one. But overall, this entire album was just an interesting listen because, again, expecting black metal, but I got black metal in sort of like moments across the board. In terms of their core sound, like what's pretty much at the heart of all of it, I think it's mostly death metal. But there's enough black metal moments in here to definitely push it towards black and death metal, but not fully towards black metal. It gets confusing, but it's an interesting listen, and I really got into this. In terms of atmosphere, though, it's mostly in like some of the clever intros and like dissonant melodies. The anthem of the Final Sin, which is technically the title track, that one actually opens up with what I would call virgin sacrificing music, because it sounds like something that would pop up in like Temple of Doom or something like that, like throwing a virgin into a volcano. They have volcanoes in Austria. I don't know. But it's a really good setup for the song that comes in because the song feels oddly anthemic. It has a very different feel, like it's almost uplifting, but the mood keeps shifting as the song goes along, like it gets a little bit more dark and sullen, but it still has that really catchy melody that goes through it. That track and the last track, When the Last Bell Falls Silent, which opens appropriately with church bells, was definitely like a slower song, more driven by a nasty chug and less driven by atmosphere, but still the atmosphere is there. It's just sort of buried beneath riffs. And I think that's kind of like the drive behind this band. They love all the black metal atmosphere and melody, but they cannot resist the call of a good riff, because this is loaded with great riffs and great layering too. They create a lot of catchy harmonies, lots of cool intricate interplay between the guitars, which I believe all the guitars were done by the frontman on this, and they just have another guy that plays live. This is a really solid album, and it kind of came out of nowhere for me. Again, expected something totally different, just, you know, looking at pictures of the band, because they definitely wear the corpse paint and such, but what I got was really, really good. Not that if this was black metal, it would have been bad. It's just different than I was expecting. Overall, I gotta give this 4 stars. This was a banger. Lots of catchy riffs, lots of hooks, still plenty of atmosphere, but mostly it's an attention to just heavy, catchy riffs, solid lead work, great songwriting, great pacing. It's a solid album. I strongly recommend it. My only issue on here is maybe the production is a tad too polished. I kind of have issues there. I think, you know, black metal and death metal should have some real discernible grit. This is heavy, but it feels really polished. But overall, the songs are what really matter, and those are pretty much all killer. There's really not a flat-out bad song on here. So if you're into black and death metal or modern death metal or something kind of blackened, definitely check this out. So if you enjoyed the review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We will catch you later.